This is Madame Edwards at the Edwards home on Sunday afternoon, talking to Mr. Connor Edwards about his 4th grade science project. Here today, we're about to learn about erosion and weathering. Thank you for coming, Mr. Edwards. I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
It's fine.
Mr. Edwards, can you tell me what weathering is?
Weathering means that it breaks down other objects. For example, it breaks down rocks mostly.
What about erosion, Mr. Edwards?
Erosion is something that moves other objects to a different place.
And disposition?
Deposition is where something drops off something at another place.
How did they drop off something by another place?
Like when something's moving, something carries something else. Then it drops it off.
Is that water
else.
or wind or what?
It could be water, wind, lava.
What's sediment?
Sediment is broken down rocks that start big, go smaller and smaller, and look like tiny pebbles.
Thank you for that background, Mr. Edwards. Now can you tell me, how do weathering, erosion, and disposition work together?
They work together, for example, in a river. In a river, when you throw rocks in there, they break down over time. That would be weathering. And then erosion is where it moves into a stream of water that moves it very fast down something or moves it very slow.
And then
And disposition is where it drops it off in a different place. Like it could drop it off at a lake, it could drop it off at a swamp, it could drop it off at a pond, it could drop it off at a beach.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. How do these things affect the world we live in?
They affect the world that we live in. Like weathering could make the land flatter so we wouldn't have to. So we could build houses and help more people live in the world. 'Cause more people come here every year.
What about the animals that live here in the world? How does it affect them?
It affects them by destroying their homes, but still replanting more and more every year.
How do water, wind, gravity, and ice play a role in weathering, erosion, and disposition?
Well, gravity, you see, we all obviously know this, that gravity pulls other objects down, like in a landslide. Gravity can pull them down and put them in some water or some ice. It'll be broken down over time. And the wind can blow off the dust over time. When like rocks and other stuff hit it, the dust gets blown away by the wind.
What about ice? How does ice?
Ice is like water. When it heats up, it turns into water and goes through rocks and minerals over time, like young Padawan.
How can weathering and erosion affect our lives every day?
They affect our lives every day by helping us clear other stuff so we don't have to destroy the earth very much by us digging and making holes.
Give me an example about a river and how that's used to show weathering.
To show weathering, say there's a landslide on a mountain and there's a river next to it. The rocks that are on the landslide tumble into there and they go in there, float away, but they break down over time and then they become sediment.
Mr. Edwards, for our audience and our young 4th graders out there, can you tell me 2 landmarks that have been affected or created by weathering and erosion and how they were formed?
Well, one of them is the Grand Canyon.
Do you have a picture, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, I do, Missy. I got one right here.
Tell us a little bit about the Grand Canyon.
Okay, I got you. The Grand Canyon has been made over 4 million years by a
what was the name of that river, Mr. Edwards?
The Colorado River.
How big is the Grand Canyon?
18 miles wide.
How long is it? Is it something you can walk in a day?
Nope, can't walk in a day. Take about a year. It would be 277 miles long.
And how deep is it?
It is 1 mile deep. Yeesh.
And how did it form over time? Do you know?
It formed over time from weathering, going down and wider, making it the Grand Canyon that we all know and love today.
Tell me about one more famous landmark that you've learned about.
One more famous landmark is
Is it the Bougainville's Arch?
It's the Bougainville's Arch. I'm sorry.
Do you have a picture to show us too,
Yeah,
Mr. Edwards?
I got a picture right here. I just forgot for a second. You can't blame me.
Tell us a little bit about the Bougainville's Arch, Mr. Edwards. Where is it located?
It's located in Namibia in Africa.
And how was that particular arch? How was it formed?
It was formed over time by water and wind.
How tall is it, Mr. Edwards?
18 feet tall.
18 feet?
Mhm.
Okay.
17. I'm so sorry.
So, last question for you, Mr. Edwards. How did you become so smart?
All up here.
From your teacher? Or what else? Did you use any resources or things that you used?
I answered a few questions.
Can you show that to the audience, Mr. Edwards?
Got some resources right here.
So, Mr. Edwards, I'd like to thank you today for sharing your wisdom about erosion and weathering for your science project. We hope we'll meet again soon and that you'll interview with us again in the Edwards household. Have a great day.
I don't like this project.